everybody, welcome to the Improv Summit. I'm your host, Spencer, as always, and with me today I have Jason. Jason, how's it going?
I'm very well. Thank you, Spencer.
You're welcome. By the way, Jason and I are a two-prof team called the Januaries, which you can check out in the links in the comments, our Facebook page, because I have been posting it every week. I also realized my background very much matches my shirt, so
I loved it, actually.
I mean, you can tell. I mean, I'm not a floating head, but it's bright.
It works.
Just like my personality.
Shining.
Sure.
I don't like this. Where you are and my camera are in two different places. Is it weird if I look at you on the screen?
I mean,
it doesn't matter.
I'm looking at you, but I mean, it's pretty obvious that you're not looking at the camera. But I mean, do you need to?
Is that cool? No, I don't think so.
I think it's pretty chill. I think it's fine.
We're talking about improv. Here's the thing. Like, improv now kind of sucks because you cannot have face-to-face interaction with people.
Yeah, and I mean, is something with it for sure.
You lose a lot. I mean, we've all adapted, whatever. But and this is actually going really well, good clear signal and everything. But to have the feeling of a person next to you, to feel their energy and to know what their body's going to be doing, and looking at all those little subtle clues and all those things, it's just it's been taken away from us in a sense. So I'm excited when theater will open back up again to have that kind of interaction, because there's nothing better than that live interaction with somebody.
Yeah, that makes sense. But let's dive into you. Let's dive into you and your improv life. Since we've transitioned online, but pre the online transitions. What is your general improv background? Just give us some bullet points or a novel, whatever you want.
Okay. I think I've always been a curious person, curious kid. I always like to do things a different way. I always like to play games with things, My family would be out, we'd be chopping down trees for firewood for the winter for my grandfolks, and we have to take one pile of wood and move it over there. Everyone's picking up a log and walking it around, but I'll pick the log up and suddenly it's a football and I'm, throwing the 20-yard pass for the touchdown. I love doing those things when I was a kid. So I think theater, I just kind of eventually fell into it. And then I took my first improv through theater. I did for a little bit, started in probably college, mostly. And then through college, I was lucky enough that I went to University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. And Wisconsin-Milwaukee is the birthplace of comedy sports.
Cheese. Oh, sorry. Yeah, comedy sports.
There's a lot of cheese as well. But comedy sports, and I actually got to be in the original comedy sports building. That place was so cool, back in the day before they moved to their new one. And I mean, now there's plenty of different buildings all over the United States. But that's where I started taking my first improv classes with Richard Chudnow. That was awesome, dude. Just a fun group of fun group of people, man. I really like that place, and those people that I met through there offered me a lot throughout my time when I lived in Wisconsin, Milwaukee. So there we go. Then I just kept doing theater for a really long time. Through theater, we do different types of improv, not just hey, wacky fun, comedy show improv, body movement improv, dance improv, things like that. Because we're theater people, so we're doing all of those things. That kind of stuff I love. Clowning I love, which is pretty much improv. And again, also using objects, object manipulation, improving with objects, all of that stuff I concentrated on a lot throughout college. And then after that, I continued to. What did I do after college? I don't know. I continued to do theater, not as much improv, but I still like to play, and I do different theaters. We do other live theater shows. interactive shows. I did a lot of interactive shows, dinner, theater, mystery murder shows. Those are fun. In Milwaukee,
super fun.
for sure. In Milwaukee, I did like a sketch show for about 2 years that I performed. Very minimal improv because it's all sketched out, but like in between, you know, the written words and like what's down, like you play with your castmates, and we would bring the audience up so that the interaction. I've done a lot of interacting with people in general, so that's just all improv too.
Awesome.
Just rambling. And
I was
then
gonna say.
Oh, sorry.
You go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, and then I moved to Los Angeles. Through Facebook, I found an awesome group of people that were doing improv in North Hollywood, led by a very nice man. His name's Paul, and he just had an open improv, free improv, and I went there, and it was actually like a really great group of people, all randoms who just kind of like all came together, and I worked with them. But then, because it was a free class, it wasn't super consistent. So some people would come in, some people would not. But I started working with them. Then through Paul, he introduced me to a group called Slow Children at Play, which is a long-running improv group here in Los Angeles area, North Hollywood. I auditioned for them. They accepted me. I worked with them for about a year and a half, 2 years. And then I had a great time with them. They were all excellent. Great group to work with. Every month we had one show. And then also I took classes at Second City where I met you, Spencer.
That's right.
I took my one and only Second City class and I met you, Spencer.
And it was my first class that I took at Second City.
Oh, that's so crazy. You know, one day my brain just scattered. One day I showed up to that class and the one kid, he was blonde, he had glasses, he was walking down the stairs and I was like, oh, hey man, how you doing? And he looks at me, he's like, hey, what's up? You getting to class kind of late? I'm like, what do you mean? I showed up an hour late to class thinking class started like an hour late. And I walked in just like, whatever, dude, I'm still going to class, I'm paying for it. And then we had a sub that day who I actually really liked the sub, but then the sub's like, way to show up like right before class ends. Like as I
What's funny, I don't even remember this. I literally don't even remember this happening. I'm wondering if even I was there that day.
It's so funny. But Second City, so we took our class, and then after that, I think you're the one who reached out to me to ask if I wanted to do that improv class around the church with
Rogue.
Right? And then there we kind of started doing 2-person improv together, which is a lot of fun.
It lasted.
Meanwhile, it lasted.
Like as far as like us as a duo.
Oh, okay, yeah, we're still good, you know, and
yeah.
The thing is, like, we really only got one solid show in. Which was fun.
It was a good show. It was a good show.
I thought we did really good. But like I think together we are really good and creative. Like when we're cooking, dude, we sizzle.
I would say. I think what on that note, I think what works, and we can talk a little bit about this too, is like I'm very like left-brained when it comes to improv, and I feel like you're much more of a right brain. Like you have much more of like creative nuances. So when we're like one whole brain together.
Yeah, right.
If that makes sense at all.
No, I totally get it. But like, yeah, but I think also we
can shift.
Especially, yes, and working together, like we definitely learned fairly quickly. I don't want to say how each other works, but like just like sometimes like I know you're thinking exactly what I'm thinking, even though it's like there's no reason for you to be. Yeah, like I'll just do like this one thing that if you hadn't been paying attention to everything else we've been leading up to, you know, why would you ever think that I was about to do it? But then you know, and you continue to start. Like, oh my god.
Yeah, and it's also like I figured out how to push your buttons a little bit in scenes, and like vice versa. Like you know, like what I'm gonna like jump into and say yes to right away, and what I'm gonna be like, okay, you just told me to do something that you know I don't like doing. Now I'm gonna do it because you told me to do it.
Yes, and to be honest, that 2-prov class, I think that really helped because there was a time, I forgot what he said, but I mean, you definitely always want to like play to your partner's strengths.
Yeah, shout out to
which is
Seeloff and Rogue Improv, by the way.
absolutely
Check it out. Free classes on Mondays, Pacific time, but 7 o'clock Pacific, I think, but free classes every Monday.
yeah,
Check it out.
nice group of people for sure.
Yeah.
Go. Um, you always want to help your your partners out, and that's actually really hard. I find that to be like one of the more like being a generous actor, being a generous improver. I
Being
mean,
a gifter. That's like
being a gifter, because you're
it's
always concerned about what you're doing, but like you also have to be concerned with what you're doing to be like, okay, I need
Mhm,
to give them this. Um, so like that class helped me slow down what we do, right? And actually
mhm.
gave us some time. Like if I don't know if I how long it would have took me more to like, okay, oh, really think about what are your strengths, because I feel like in that class, like we got a good time allotted for like to watch you do and to talk about like what you're good at and what I saw that you were good at, what you thought you
Mhm.
were good at.
Also,
And
what
then like
I
as
loved also is that it was focused so much on the strengths and not on the weaknesses specifically. It's like, what are the strengths? Let's play those strengths,
mhm,
because whatever
mhm,
if I'm like, these are my strengths, then whatever I didn't say was a strength is maybe something that's a challenge for me, but it's not necessarily a weakness. It's just something that I don't feel
mhm,
as strong in. And so I think that that was what was
mhm,
great. I'll let you go back to finishing. I just thought of it is like the idea of the strengths. It was great because it focused on what we were good at or what
mhm,
we could do or what we and worked, and it also allowed us to work on the challenges that we wanted to challenge ourselves with,
mhm.
as opposed to being
Um,
like, you can't do this, you can't do this, it's a weakness. It was like, here are the strengths, let's play into the strengths and build from there.
right, absolutely. Even if you play on someone's strengths, it allows because it's easier, a little bit easier for someone, right? It's easier for
Hmm.
them to do that. So then when you throw weakness at them, when you throw something at them that you know that they are maybe not as comfortable in, but you know that they can improve on, and you know that they're gonna fucking knock it out of the park because you've seen them do it before, but
Hmm.
they're maybe not as confident. So, but you just throw a little thing like that at them so they can then perform it in a very safe setting because they're already playing so many of their strengths.
Yeah,
So
that's
anyways,
great.
yeah, that class has definitely allowed me to I think slow down and look at what your strengths are. And like sometimes I'll set up like something before you come in, and I'm just like, dude, I know he's gonna do this really well. Or like exactly like you said, I know like all three of these things that I'm about to have him do like he hates, but like it. So like
And
you
the
come
thing,
in and it's like it's
yeah, and
great.
the thing is that I like, it's like when you find like a team, or in the case of a duo partner, a partner that you trust, then it's like, if you're like, okay, let's be characters, like, because I'm not great at characters, I don't really necessarily care for characters, but
But you are.
if you thanks, oh, you're too kind, but if you say like, we're going to be characters, my first thought is always going to be, I know that you know that I don't like it, but I know that I trust you, but I know that
Yeah.
I trust you in what we're gonna do. So it's finding that trust, I think, is a big thing, is knowing that, like, I know you're not gonna be like, oh, we're gonna do characters, good luck,
Hmm.
buddy. It's like, we're gonna do characters because, one, I trust you, and two, I want you to get better at the thing you don't think you're good at. And
Hmm.
so I'm gonna coddle, I guess is like a word. I'm gonna coddle you into, coaxing you into doing something so you can get better, because I know you can do it, and I know that you trust me. And I think that
Hmm.
that's a big thing, especially with duos, is is knowing that, like, whatever you do, even if you make me do characters, I know that what you're doing is for a reason, and I trust what you're doing. I know that you're there to make me look good. So it's like finding that duo partner who is going to, one, match your energy, also kind of be an opposite energy, but also someone that you can trust regardless of what they do or say in a scene. You know that they have your back. And I think that that is what, at least I think we have between the two of us, is that ability to have each other's back.
Hmm. I'd agree. I'd agree. Absolutely. We pick, we can, we, yeah, we pick up pretty well for each other. Like when we fall and I've seen, you know,
Yeah. And I think also one thing is interesting is, like, I know that sometimes we've had, it's like the idea of, and just on a quick side note about, like, the idea of consent. It's like, when we were back in, like, non-online times, where it's like, are you cool if I, like, touch you this or do this or pat you on the back or whatever, like asking those things. And we're like, once we get past that, it's like, okay, yeah, great. Okay. Do this or whatever. Like, I don't want to do that. And there's a mutual sense of respect in that way. I mean, we're both pretty like open as far as like whatever, but I think that that's also something that, it's like, it's weird because people don't want to have that conversation of like, should I not? But it's like, if you just have it, just say like, this is what I'm comfortable with. This is what I'm not comfortable with. And then you're like, okay, great.
Yeah, exactly. No,
and
you
then,
have to.
it's like, it's as opposed to having it be the elephant in the room, just, it's not a weird question to ask at all. And I think if you just ask that, and that like, if I said like, no this or no that, or you said no this or no that, I would trust that you would, respect that boundary, and vice versa, which is what makes a great partner or a great team, is like, if you set boundaries, that no one crosses those boundaries. But I think it's weird, and I get it, like there's some, sometimes it's hard to have that conversation, but I think if you trust your team, or you trust your duo partner, having that conversation is like easy. It's like, and it's more of like, is there anything I shouldn't do? And I think that that's like the bigger thing. It's like, whatever. I mean, and then of course it's like, obviously you're not going to sit and like poke at my eye. I mean, like that's just like common sense, but it's like
physically or like verbally.
Well, like physically put your finger in my eye, But like, I mean, it's like, there are certain things that it's like, obviously that's not going to happen.
No.
Like, like I'm not going to bring a pair of scissors and cut your hair on stage. Like, it's not.
Oh, God, I got so much stuff to say. Okay, stuff. Let me see if I can remember this stuff about consent.
Yeah.
But just on this with boundaries, like it's good to always have boundaries, and if you got boundaries, great. And if something, if you have a boundary, so like let's say I want to poke your eye, like that's where this scene is coming. How can we creatively show that without actually doing it?
That's
like,
great.
That's like when I think it's even better. Like, so even though you have a boundary, you should think of it as a negative thing, because you can be like, well, we can go right up to that boundary and we can walk all the way around it, like we're still being safe, and let's see what else we can do, right?
There's so many choices.
Choices. Slowing down is one of my favorite, and I always forget to do it. Slow, like doing the like slow motion, whatever, like like for whatever reason.
One of my favorites is like not speaking right away, or like not speaking in a scene. Like there's so much that can be done with just like emotional response, like facial reactions, or like movement, physicality. Like there's so much. And I think one thing that a lot of improvisers like to do is, and I have a habit when I get nervous, is I'll just start like talking, and I'll be like, you know what I mean? Like the thing, and I'll just try to explain it so much that like I'm just going on a tangent. And I think like sometimes I've found that I'm more successful in scenes where I'm just like one little quip here, another little quip here. And it's like, that's my character who's just like kind of putting his own 2 cents in, and then like is kind of on the side, which my brain works that way. And I think that that's something that I love, is like the nonverbal communication and improv people often forget about, because improv, there's dialogue, but there doesn't have to be dialogue. There are some great scenes that are just silent scenes.
Not that you need this kind of work, but I think it really helps people, because you can still like learn how to not talk in scenes by just someone saying, hey, don't talk in your scene, and then do something, right? But like you said, people get nervous, and it's all about being calm,
because people don't like silence. They don't want to live in silence. They want noise.
So what I think is good for that, like again, like I still think it's one of the best forms of entertainment ever, and I love it. Clowning's to learn how to clown is to sit in silence in front of people. Like,
and it's making big physical choices, which is one of the main things in improv, is making physical big choices. And going off of clowning, I would say I actually took a mime class once.
Miming, yes.
Absolutely. I am by no means a mime. There's no way I think I'll ever be a mime. It's too physical for me, but it actually allowed me to really explore all the ways my body can move.
I want to dress you up as a mime.
Well, I mean, that's different.
It was so funny. But yes,
that's
you're right.
Different. But it's like, I know like the whole butterfly, where it's like, oh, here's my butterfly, and then oh, where the butterfly, let me catch it. Oh, I caught the butterfly, right? And so like there's all these like physical movements, because if you're catching a butterfly, quote unquote, if you're able to catch a butterfly, it's going to try to fly away. It's not going to just like sit there and not move and you just have it. So you have to like have like the wings fluttering. Anyways, that's a whole thing. But I think it allowed me to realize, like, if I'm watching a butterfly, I'm not just like, my head's going to be following the butterfly. It's going to be moving. It's not just going to be looking,
Mm-hmm.
because butterflies are moving or whatever. And so it was great. But also we did like all the different, like, like what are the characters called? Like the captain and the pantalones, all those characters.
Oh, you did that.
We did like pantalones.
Did anybody come in walking like this?
Well, we did pantalones, harlequino, like all the different
Harlequin or something like that.
Yeah, harlequino.
Harlequino.
But or
Oh my
harlequin.
God.
It's harlequin. But we did all the different types, and what was interesting is we explored where our body.
Commedia
dell'arte, yeah.
There we go.
We all the different character tropes, and what we did was we found where they move in our like where they lead within our body, or how we feel that they lead.
Yeah.
And I've gone into improv classes, and it's like, okay, this is the character, now try and walk like that character. And it's the exact same idea. And it's just, taken from commedia dell'arte, and then taken from mime, and then taken from improv. But it's like, okay, if I'm a captain, like general of a war, I'm going to walk a lot differently than if I'm an 85-year-old guy with a cane.
Mm-hmm.
There are different ways I'm going to lead and move. And so I think it's also on the whole physicality thing, like whether it's clowning or mime, like having those nuances to understand how your body works. And everybody's body works differently. Like I can't see out of one eye, and I have a slight case of scoliosis. So my body works and functions a whole lot differently than like you or someone else that, has different needs or accessibility. And so I think that's what's great about like understanding the movement and going off of, see, this is my big old tangent, but the idea of of silent scenes or physical scenes. Yep. Those are options in improv. I mean, I've seen great improv scenes that no one spoke a word in the whole scene. It was just funny because it was very clear what was going on, the game, or whatever term you want to call it, but knowing exactly what's happening, the premise in the scene, without any dialogue. And it's very funny too. So considering
there's a lot of drama in silence. The Quiet Place, just like that movie.
Yeah, you can't make any noise. So maybe think of it being a Quiet Place improv.
It's hiding. It's like you can't hide behind words.
Right.
I mean, when people are nervous, that's when they talk. And it's like they're just trying to hide behind words.
And then of course there's the exact opposite, where you have like a bat, where it's literally all audio. There's no visual, because it's just like like a radio play, but it's a bat, like it's a herald in the dark. And it's the exact opposite, where your voice, you can say words, but if you're not emoting, if you're not like physically bringing your body into the sound of the darkness, we're not going to really know what your POV is or how you feel, because we can't see how you're feeling. We got to be able to hear it. So it's like this whole like, I think that it's like making a big, strong choice. As they say, a big, bold, strong choice is really key in improv, because it also allows your scene partners to be able to know what is your POV? Who are you? What are you doing? Like, it's a lot easier when you're not just like, you walk out and it's like, I'm just looking at something, I'll figure it out. Because then people will jump out, but people are like, I want to go out with some kind of idea.
Well, right.
But I also don't know. But it's also like, eventually people just pop out, and like, maybe that person has an idea, but maybe they don't. And it's a lot harder if you just like walk out and you like kind of look into the sky and expect the other person to initiate the scene, versus like if you're like, one of my favorite ones I remember is from an audition that I had. It was a callback for an improv show, and I remember it was like the suggestion was like lawyer or something, or judge or something like that. And I was like, I'm not great at scenic games, and I'm not great at talking a lot. So let me think of something that's good for me. And I was like, let me make a big, strong physical choice. And I literally went on the stage, I laid down and started just flailing my arms and legs. And the person who was my scene partner, she literally says, "Sir, I know it's been a long day, but we need to get you back out there to take care of these cases." And I heard that and I went, "Oh, but I don't wanna." And it was like great, because this character, who's in a generally high status position, was very low status as far as his actual character, even though he's in a high status position. And it was fun because she was like, this physicality of what he's doing based on this suggestion, let me call this out. And it became very fun. And I enjoyed it so much because I just made a big, strong physical choice. Because that's what I'm good at, is making a big, strong physical choice. And so why not go with that? And it led itself to a really great, funny scene that didn't require any work, really. It was just like, yeah, I'm flailing around on the ground. It makes sense that I'm having a tantrum. But in the context of it being a lawyer having a tantrum, because the lawyer versus the client, the lawyer's like, I don't want to keep doing this work. Ugh. Like, so it worked out really well. But anyway.
It's very important, and it's very hard to come in fully loaded like that. But I mean, we all do them. We all do those scenes where you start off slowly and it's like you introduce yourself and it's like you say, it's like you almost don't know the other character, but you should always know like what's going on. Like, even if you just walked in, you just agree. Don't act like, oh, I didn't know that. Can you please explain it to me? Just be like, yes, of course. Move it along.
The 6 months to 6 year rule, like you're supposed to have known the person for between 6 months and 6 years.
Okay, right. No, that's perfect. So it's like, come fully loaded. What I like to see is, I don't like to see the introductory scenes. I like to see scenes. I try to strive to have scenes where like you are in the middle of the shit. Like whatever's going down, like it's going down now. Like you're in Chernobyl and the core is just dropped half an hour ago and it's like no one knows what's going on. Like you know, anything intense, you know, but like, you know, just 2 seconds or something, like right after the big reveal or something happens.
Yeah, anything intense or anything out of tense also.
Those kind of scenes I love, because it's just like, what's going on? Like the audience then is forced to have to play catch up in their minds.
Yeah,
so
or
like,
mustard.
Or mustard. So like they're like super engaged. You're all engaged on what's going on, and like everything that already happened will come out through everything that's happening. And I think those scenes are just way better. I kind of strive to always try to do that, but they're so hard.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's true. And I think it's
middle of the event. That's what you want, man.
Yeah, it's not talking about the thing. It's doing the thing.
One time, this reminded me, one time, by great improv experience, back in college, I drove out to Pittsburgh because that's where my girlfriend went to college. And she took me to an improv. They were doing an open improv show. And they did like a show, and then they're like, does anyone want to go? And I'm like, yeah, I'll go up. You know?
Yeah.
And I think we have like anthropology or something, whatever the dinosaur bone searching job is.
Archaeology,
I think.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. I had a quick side note in college. I had a bio class. Everyone had to take bio, and I remember it was VSC 1005 is like what everyone takes, but they had 4 different teachers in 4 different sections. My favorite section was I think it was paleontology, I think is the dinosaur thing. Anyway, but it was paleobiology, and I really loved that. And it was like really interesting. The teacher was like super awesome, and I like didn't do well on the test at all, even though I was like really maintaining the information. And then we had a teacher who the next section was on plants, and he was so dry and so boring. And I aced that test, and I was like, I guess I just need like dry, boring teachers to get the information across, which was weird because I love I think it's paleontology. That's what I think it is for the dinosaur bones. But I love that section. I found it fascinating, and yet apparently I didn't do well on it.
Okay. So paleontology, but I think it was me and this other lady, we got picked up. So it was a 2-person scene, and I think we got archaeology, and they're like, okay, go ahead, start the scene. First thing I do, I'm the first one to speak. I speak loud and clear, and I say, hey, what's that?
Oh boy.
I open up with the fucking question, like, I mean, this is so many years ago, and I still just go like, "Oh man, I totally just screwed up that."
And here's the thing for the viewers who may be like, "I don't like what's wrong with that." Like, what? There's a lot of things with that. And I mean, I guess like for like beginning improv, or for even like experienced improvisers who know each other, that's like I would ask you that question, or you would ask me that question because you know that we're gonna respond to it. But like, what are some ways? Like, one, what are some reasons why that may not be a great initiation, but what are some ways that can be fixed?
Are you asking me that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Well, it's not it's an initiation, but on a scale of 1 to 10, and 10 being like the best, and like you're having a lot of fun and you're moving the story along, it's like a 1. Because
Yeah,
one,
I mean, maybe a 2 because it's
it's a
at
2.
least an
Okay,
initiation.
right, maybe a 2, maybe a 2. Well, one, you're taking a lot of responsibility and you're putting it on the other person. Now,
Huh.
what if she was really nervous and she didn't know what to say? That, boom, scene's dead. Two, I didn't make any choices. Like I could have even said, I love the green grass. I love the blue grass. I could have given her anything. But
One thing. Yeah.
one thing instead, I made her start the scene, even though I selfishly spoke up first and fast. I basically, what I did is I just added nothing. I added
Hmm.
nothing to the silence. And by me opening my mouth, I basically wasted energy by
And it's
saying
also,
that.
yeah, and it's also one thing that it's like, wow, look at that. That is great. The whole time you have a scene partner who's like, I want to agree with you. What is the thing? Just say what it is. And so
Hmm.
it's like what is that? Even if you were to, and it's like, yeah, don't ask a question, but even with that, with the specifics, it's like you could have literally been like, look at that thing. And it's like, what is that thing? Like,
Yeah.
and if it's like between us, like if you said that, I would be like, oh yeah, look at that, dinosaur bone or whatever it is. But
As
if
descriptive
it's
as you can be,
right,
always the best, which is so hard
it's very
sometimes.
difficult, especially when you're like, I'm gonna initiate. Let me think of an idea. Let me let me go out and say it and hope that it's clear enough that we can follow what my idea is. And a lot of times I'm in classes and they're like, was that what you were going for? And I'm like, I don't know past the first line. I sure. I mean, the people are like, and people are like, well, I had this idea of like this, and another person was going to say this, and I'm like, yeah, I get it. Like you have an idea. One, you have to have a strong initiation, so it's very clear. But two, that's the beauty of improv is you don't know what the other person's going to do. Because if we were doing a scene and I was like, well, you look great today, you could be like, oh, thanks so much, or you could be like, oh, are you kidding me? I wanted to look, and it's like you don't know what the other person is going to say, so you can't have an expectation of what they're going to say because they
Hmm.
can't read your mind.
Hmm.
Even if they have ESP and say they can't read your mind. So you have to just go with that initiation, make it as strong and specific as possible. So that way that person is like, I think I understand where you're going. And even if it's, if it's like, hey Mike, you're up. I'm gonna ump over here. You just gotta make sure you don't get a strike. Like, we're at a baseball game. You know that you're at bat. You know that I'm the ump and you're at bat. So we know exactly what's happening right
Very
there and then
strong,
and
right?
there versus like, all right, Mike, you're up. Like, and then you'd be like, okay. Like,
Right.
what does that mean? What does that mean? You're up.
I mean, yeah, that I'd say is like well, you got a name, you got the thing that he's up. I'd give that a 5 or a 4.
Yeah, maybe, sure. But it is that idea of like when I gave the baseball initiation, it was like, okay, it was very clear that we were playing ball.
Right.
And that like you were at bat, I was the ump.
You
I
just
mean,
moved
I
the
said,
story along so much. Like
right,
otherwise that would have
six or
took
seven lines.
yeah, which is like when the story will still be funny, but it's not going to be, as a
Hmm.
teacher used to say, always
And
make it faster, funnier, louder. Be as
yeah,
fast and funny and loud as you can be.
yeah.
You know.
And I know people don't necessarily like it, but I think it's a great thing to do where it's like you're getting in a scene and you're like, all right, Mike, now as your manager here at this office supply store, I got to tell you,
Yeah,
I know you've been stealing staplers. Like, I've already established everything in my first line, and it
it's a
might
little
sound like
hokey
it's a
sometimes,
little hokey, it's a little robotic, but at the
but it
end of the
can work.
day, it can work if it's done well. But also, it's like I've given you all the information,
Right. But
so there we can just play.
with your scene partner, you could still be like, hey, so now it's whatever my new boss, like you could only give them like a couple informations. And if you know your scene partner good enough, they'll fill in the rest
Right.
and it'll just be like smooth and which is nice. When you work with people enough, you realize you don't have to do that and like they can take it up and like move it on.
Right. Or even like, even now I'm like on this whole thing. It's like with Mike, it's like, all right, Mike, you've been a great fry cook. And I just got to let you know that we've got to get our numbers up because Mr. Ronald McDonald is not happy with the way that we are selling our product.
Yeah.
And
So
without even
done.
saying we're at McDonald's, you know that you're a fry cook, you know I'm the manager, and you know that we're at McDonald's
Yeah.
or some fast food establishment.
Yeah.
And without like specifically stating it, but it gets out all this information in one line. So your partner's like, I know exactly where we're going with this, at least as far as where we are, who we are to each other, so I can make those decisions and create that POV, as opposed to being like, all right, well, Mike, you've been doing great, and just keep doing better. And it's like, doing better at what? Which in that case,
You better
you're
hope
asking,
that's that person's character.
right? But you're also putting, like we said, like putting the onus on the other person to like establish where we are, who you are to each
Right.
other, how it's working. And some people will be great at doing that, and other people are going to be like, I don't want to step on your idea, because a lot of great improvisers are like, I want to know what your idea is so I can yes and that. But if I don't know what your idea is, I'm just going to go with what I think it is, and it might be completely opposite or different. Because like if I did the fry cook, scene, you would know that we're at a fast food restaurant. That's what I was trying to establish. Versus like, all right, Mike, you're doing a great job. And you could have been like, oh yeah, I waxed this car and it's a beautiful car. And I was like, "Oh, we were supposed to be in a fast food restaurant."
Yeah,
But
but
like,
if
it's not
someone does that,
specific.
I'd be like, dude, you didn't have an idea. Like,
Yeah.
because
And
when
that's
you're on
also,
improv, the only idea you have is it's like a soliloquy. You are talking out what you are thinking,
mhm,
like that.
mhm.
Those are the only ideas. If somebody doesn't give you an idea, they haven't got it.
And that's also an idea. And you'll see Brian O'Connell talks on in one of the ones that I've done already, where he says that he learned it from Honeycutt, I think, Eric Honeycutt. But he said that one thing is great is that like it's like if you're at a scene partner, you start out with like that nonverbal physical choice. If it's like we did a wine cellar suggestion, so his whole thing was he was like looking at wine, and he's like looking at wine, and then he's looking back at me to see if I have anything, and then he
Mhm.
goes back to looking at the wine, and he looks at me, and he's like, "Do you have something?" And it's like this whole like nonverbal, like, "Do you have something, or should I say something?" And
Mhm.
it's like, and so it's whoever's initiating, you don't want to step on it if they have an initiation to say. But sometimes people just come out, like you said, sometimes they're just like, I'm glad you said something, because I had no idea, I just came out to like do something, to get out there and like explore this world. I didn't know what we were doing. And so
Then
it
why
is one of
even
those
step
things.
out?
Well, it's like, but it's like with a like what I'm saying is like with a bold
Oh, with the
physical choice,
nonverbal.
like
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I can go out and like, like I said, like I laid on the ground and flailed my
Yes.
arms.
Yes.
I
Yes.
didn't necessarily know what was going to happen with that scene. I was just like, this is what I'm doing. And luckily the person came in and like,
It's a
maybe
strong
I was going to say
initiation.
something,
Yeah.
but I was glad that she said something, because that scene would have been way better than what I was thinking. And I wasn't
Hmm.
really thinking of anything. I was like, I'm just going to do this and I'll figure it out in a second. And so I think that there is this, like, again, if you know people and you trust them, it's going to be a lot easier to know when someone has an idea and when they don't have an idea.
Right. So to backtrack real quick, I think both the thing wrong with and the answer to asking a question like I did to start an improv scene is, as we've discussed, is specifics.
Hmm.
Lack of and more, needed.
Hmm.
That more needed is the answer and lack of is the issue,
Hmm.
because it
And
doesn't matter. And
it's
that's
hard.
the only fix too, because if somebody gives you nothing, okay, sweet. I
Hmm.
am now gonna, you've given me full reign to be
I'm
like,
going to create
whatever.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And also it's like this whole like who, what, where kind of situation. I know that people are like, oh, it's like it's actually pretty hard to master, because even when I take like more advanced improv classes, the teacher's always like, okay, real quick pause, who are you to each other? Just throw that in there. They're not like, tell us right now, but they're like,
Yeah.
in your next line or two, throw in where you are, how you know each other, because it is that elephant in the room where you're like, yeah, Mike, it's good to see you too. Oh, it's been so long. Oh yeah, Tim.
Hmm.
It's like, but are we brothers? Are we roommates? Are we lovers? Like what like we don't know
Hmm.
unless we say what it is. It's like, oh my gosh, Tim, my long lost brother. I cannot believe. And again, it sounds kind of cheesy, because it is like that heavy handed like initiation, but it's like, here it is. Here I'm telling you what is happening. Here's the gift, as
Hmm.
opposed to like 10 lines in. And because the audience gets on board, the sooner you get on board and know what's going on, the sooner the audience will get on board and know what's going
Hmm. They can relax
on.
a
Yeah.
little bit.
Because they're like, oh, they're two brothers at a campfire. Okay, got it. Okay, now I'm ready to watch the scene. Versus like, wait a second, who are they? Who? I know that one's Bill and I know that one's Tim, but are they brothers? Are they cousins? Are they friends? Like, what?
And
Where
that
are?
mystery can be useful, and like, you know, definitely has its funny moments.
Yeah,
But
for
you know,
sure.
but like, you gotta master the one before you deserve the other.
Yeah, true.
It's such a, you know.
And there again, it's like with, rules are made to be broken. Again, once you've learned the rules and you feel like you've mastered them, or you're competent in the rules, then you can break them.
Yeah.
Like maybe I come out, like with us, the two of us have been, improvising together for a while now, that I could go out and be like, yo, did you see that thing? And then I would know that you would be like, all right, he wants me to do it, or like, he's got nothing, right? Versus like me going to a jam
I would
with
just be
someone.
like, no.
But even then, it's like I remember I did a scene in a class recently, and there was like the whole thing with like one of the opening sequences was just like very non-specific items. And so the whole scene was me going like, yeah, so I've laid everything out and I think this is the way to go. And they're like, well, I'm like, well, I mean, we've got some of this, we've got some of that, we've got a little of everything. And they're like, okay, so do you think this will work? Well, I mean, this might, it was like we never really said what was happening or what it was.
Yeah.
But that was the thing that we were playing,
like
because
joke,
that was
right? Yeah.
based on the suggestion. And so because we knew that, it was okay to not make those specifics, because the specifics were us not making specifics. But yeah, so I mean, I think it's again, rules are made to be broken. Once you've learned it, you can break it, as long as you know how to break it. I think. Well, yeah. I had a bunch of questions, but I think that we've answered new questions that I'm actually was more excited, not more excited about, but just as excited about answering these new questions.
Okay.
But,
what other? Can we go through the other questions really fast? Like, give one
yeah,
word,
sure.
word answers or one sentence answers.
Sure.
Like,
we did most of them, just inadvertently in a different way. But
okay. Like $10,000 pyramid.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll give you 6 words for each answer. How about that? 6 words.
Okay.
6 words total. First question: what drew you to improv?
I like life a little weird.
Great. Do you have any favorite types of improv, whether it's long form, short form, genre, narrative, whatever it is?
I like long form pretty most.
I was going to say a lot would work, because that's 2 words.
I was thinking a lot. I didn't want to say. A lot would have been, because I wanted to say the most, but
I'm giving you 6 words max. You don't have to necessarily use all 6 words.
That is true. That is true.
So, all right, next one. Any favorite improv games?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yes, great. Well, if you don't have to use the 6 words. What are your favorite improv games? That's a quick answer. If you have any that you can remember.
I do. I'm drawing like Beastie Rap. I haven't done Beastie Rap in so long that I just kind of want to do one. Because that's just fun, stupid games. I'm trying. I don't even know what games there are.
That's okay. That works. Rapping is great.
Sure.
So on that, get your 6 fingers.
Okay.
With the thumb. Any favorite warm-ups that you like doing before an improv show?
Yeah, warm-ups with other people.
Stop. More than 6. Just kidding. No, you can answer it. It's fine. Answer the question. That was like 8 words.
Mind meld.
Yeah,
mind meld's fun. Okay.
Yeah, it is.
All right.
Do you have any others?
I mean, just like sometimes apps and stuff are fun. Doing like body stuff. Dancing. Hey, someone just comes in and puts some tunes on our own little dance. Anything. I like physical warm-ups myself.
Sure.
I'm a very physical person. And I just need to get it out of my body. Stuff with the boys, anything like that.
Great. I love it. So this one, I'm going to give you 3 bullet points. So okay, cool. Bullet point answers for 3, for up to 3. It doesn't have to be 3. Are there any elements of improv that you use in your daily life that's unrelated to improv or acting? or like performance or entertainment, things like that.
Yeah, I mean, just dealing with people. Oh, dating, dude. Here, I'll say this: dating, especially pandemic dating. If you're trying to like meet people online, which is a horrible process, anyways. But sometimes I think when I talk to people, when I'm out dating, or when I'm trying to meet somebody, I mean, if they don't want to give me the time of the day, that's fine. That's a little bit different. But when you can tell someone's trying to have a conversation with you, but they cannot carry a conversation, like it's just weird. And I think more people should take improv classes to be comfortable with that, to just bounce off of each other, Grocery line store. I connect with so many people just because I say, hi, how are you? I look at what they're doing. I pay attention to what's going on. I comment to something. I try to bounce off them. I mean, not everybody, that's exhausting, but a lot.
It's like people say, like, public speaking in a way. It's almost like it's more like private speaking, but public speaking, but being able to hold a conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. They're just bullshitting with people, anything like that. I think improv definitely helps. I don't want to say it's maybe a kinder person, but I think because sometimes I can stop and take in people a little bit more because I'm interested in people that way, and improv allows me to help work and hone that playfulness with people.
It's made you more aware.
Definitely makes you more aware, which I think, probably just makes you a more kind person, be more aware of others.
Yeah, and that all goes back to one of the biggest things, which everyone says yes and is like the number one rule of improv, but I almost think listening is the number one rule. You got to be able to listen in order to have a successful scene.
Yeah.
Which leads me to another question. What do you feel makes a good improviser? And I want to change the word good to someone said successful, which I really like. What makes a successful improviser?
Someone I play well with, I think, is, which I'll say it like this, is someone who very good question. I was going to say someone who I play well with, I think is someone who's usually a little bit like kind of like my background, a little bit clowny, physical, smart, rapid fire, like kind of brain stuff, and like open and curious. And I think those are all great improv qualities. I mean, if you're just open, you're like, that's it. I think you can use that to describe everything. If you're just open, man.
Well, thank you for describing me. I really appreciate it.
To the T.
Curious, open, smart, rapid fire.
You are, dude. You are. You're smart. Everything,
Thanks. I have a master's degree. I put it to good use
every day. That's crazy. So yeah, like those kind of improvisers, anyone who just like, what I think, someone who just comes on and offers you something, dude.
Yeah, I think that's
it. Or like you don't they don't try to bulldoze. I'll just tell you who I don't like. I'm always better at pointing out negative aspects of my life than positive aspects of my life. Working on it. But
we all
people who don't bulldoze a scene, like I've definitely been in groups like that, and it's just like, oh, this is the reason why I can't go to beginner improv anymore, or something like that. People that are just like, go for it. But those can be fun because then what you do is you just stand there. And you just wait for that one moment where it's like you just put in like the fucking punchline and you just kill it because everyone's waiting for you to do something and you don't, and then suddenly you do.
I took a couple of improv classes, and I had a teacher once where we talked about steamrolling, and this was when I was early on in my improv career, and I was like, what is steamrolling? Am I steamrolling? And he goes, you don't have to worry about steamrolling. You'll never be a steamroller. And I was like, she's like, no, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. I was like, what? Because I'm very much like a wallflower, like a backline kind of person. Like a lot of times people are like, it's because you're afraid. I'm like, a lot of times it's just me thinking. Like I'm just so analytically minded that I'm like, okay, if I'm bringing these characters back, where could I place them? What could I do? How could I? But I'm not thinking about jumping out because I'm so focused on being in the moment of like what's happening,
you're
ready to edit, ready to like, and it's always great because like I'm very good at those things. I'm very good at buttons. I'm very good at like mapping things like this. And so like I had one time I remember in a class and people were like, you need to get out. I'm like, just pull me out. Like if you're doing a scene, just bring me out. Like because I don't, it's not that I'm not comfortable going out. I just am like so focused on like piecing everything together. And like especially when it's like a show where we like a herald, or where we have like a bookend kind of a situation where I'm like, oh, we started with grape jelly, so if we end with peanut butter, this would be great if we did like a dog scene and the dog's licking the peanut. Like I'm thinking of all of that, of like how to piece things together.
Yeah.
Which I need to get out of my head and not do that, because then it's not really improv. But
it's still good to be like 20 moves ahead. Like,
yeah,
because then at least, because in that respect, you have a solid idea, right? But then like eventually you see that, oh, well, that's not the way the story's going, but I can still play the truth of that idea and bend it to what's happening. And you have like a solid character, you have everything, like, right? So it's not a bad thing. You need to jump in there more. Talk about jumping in. So I like to work, right? Like I like to work and play. So if I'm like in an open improv, or if I'm like in a class or something and they're like, all right, 5 people jump up, I will go up every single time. Because why not, dude? You know,
yeah.
we're only here for a limited time. If it's a class I'm paying for, I want to work the entire time. Doesn't everybody else?
Oh yeah. That's another whole conversation we can have on its own about,
you know, but
barely working in a class.
Right. I know where I'm at sometimes. So it's like, I try to be nice for everybody, and I try to like just kind of like hang back for a second, you know, while like other people get their things done. But then I think sometimes people take advantage of that, and they're not aware that other people aren't going. And then they tend to steamroll things when it's like, well, it's not, you know, trying to be nice. I don't know. I don't know. I had a point about that, but I think I lost it.
No, it's okay. I was gonna say it's one of those things where like and it's hard, because when you're so in, I know, and there's a difference between steamrollers who are so into making sure that they get seen, versus people who are just so excited about improv that they don't realize that they're not allowing everyone else to get in.
I do worry about that sometimes.
Yeah, I don't think I have to worry about it too much.
But I think it's good that you worry about it. It shows that
Yeah.
like you're concerned with it. Like in the group that I worked with, Slow Children at Play, I know that a lot of my issues sometimes is going small, like minute, because I get like wrapped up in it, and I get bigger and bigger and bigger sometimes. So like sometimes like thinking like, oh, I didn't have to raise my voice, I could have lowered it instead. Like I don't, I tend to forget that I can go a little bit smaller.
Yeah.
But like, you know, keep the intensity, because I'm all about the big movements. So like I would sometimes think like, oh, am I just like standing out too much in the scene? You know, like am I trying to take over a lot? And I mean, I maybe sometimes, I don't think most of the time, but also those times that I do feel maybe I am doing that, it could be that my group knows me so well, they're letting me play to the strengths because it's for the betterment of the scene. And that's what makes your group awesome, because sometimes you just like in all theater, all live shows, everyone's in the chorus. Every once in a while, you take a step out, you do your solo, and then you step right back into the chorus.
And that's the beauty of it, because it's like, you know, like let's say like we're on a team of like 8 people, right? And you know, like let's say I'm not a steamroller, but like on Tuesday night we're having a show, and during warm-ups I'm like killing it at warm-ups, and like I'm in a great mood and all this. Like that's a night to throw me out and let me live in this energy that I have. And maybe I play a little bit more than usual, or whatever the case is, because whether it's me or whoever it is on this team, it's like that person's having a good night. Let's let them play. Get them out there, let them play. Because one, I may be having a good night and like confident and ready to go, but like it's like, well, usually you're like sitting in the back line, you know, popping in and out.
They're like, hey, he's manic today. He must be off his meds. Put him on, put him on, put him on.
But it's like if he wants to steamroll today, let him steamroll, because one, we know he's not going to steamroll because he's not a steamroller, but two, he's having a good night. Like get him out there and let him play. Because like if I'm having that moment, like the next week I might just be like, no, I had a great week last week. You guys can, you know, jump in there. And so I think that that's something also with a team, going back to the whole trust thing, is trusting when your team, it's like, this person's really into it tonight. Let's like let them, or like, they go out and like the audience is in love with this person. Like let the audience love the person. Like, don't be like, well, I haven't gone out. But like if the audience is loving someone, let them play.
Yeah. So
like, especially if like it's like a 50 seat audience and like it's like, let's say I brought 42 of the 50 people, like, yeah, I mean, it's like I got a team, but it's like that's the night to let me play because all my friends are there. But or like I'm in a good mood, or having confidence or whatever. Like I'm gonna steamroll tonight, guys, even if I'm not. Anyway, that's a whole long story.
I think great people who are good at improv are great team people, or they learn to be great team people throughout, but are open and willing to allow other people to do their thing, yet open to learning how to be better, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, I love
just
that.
Good things. But I will say also is the other people I don't like are dangerous people, who I think are dangerous people in theater. Dangerous people in theater to me are people who cannot like control their body, or do things without asking, which are like super dangerous. Body stuff, like I do a lot of physical things, but if I know I'm gonna like be falling over here, or I'm gonna be doing something over here close to people, like I know where I'm gonna be and I'm gonna make sure like I nail that each time. I'm never gonna like accidentally hurt somebody because something unplanned happened and like I kicked somebody instead. And I've seen that happen a lot in theaters, like audience members hurt or something like that because the person thought that they were being like, they were just so caught up in the moment that they thought they were going to be funny, or they thought they were going to show this really cool thing, and they do something very unsafe and it ends up hurting people. I don't like people like that. Like you can still have uncontrolled things, but like just stay within your parameters of like what you can control. You can still make it look dangerous, but you've got to be precise. I also don't like people who physically touch somebody without asking them. Sexually do that too. I've seen it happen in class, and like one of my friends went up and I was like, dude, she did not look like he planned that out with her earlier. And then I asked her and she said, no, he didn't. I'm like, dude, you can't do that. She did say something, which is awesome, but you just can't go touching. I mean, anything like that. I mean, just always ask the person ahead of time. I've always like, if I think like there's a kiss in the script, I don't want to kiss you. Is that okay? Or like, hey, there's a kiss in the script. I do want to do that. And if they're like, no, I don't want to kiss you, be like, okay, well, what can we do? Again, the parameters, setting boundaries. What can we do? I can just do this. I can do that. I can just hold your hand, and like touching somebody's hand softly is just as dramatic as kissing somebody. If you do it right way, right?
Yeah, and going off of that, one thing is someone brought up a good point in one of the other videos that I released is I could say yes today, but that same thing I might say no tomorrow.
Yes, that's an important thing.
And that's a big thing is yes doesn't always mean yes. It means yes in that moment.
I think that relies on good communication on both sides and to keep that up. Because that
and again, it would be like something like if it was you and me, like we've already established like what's good or whatever. If there's a certain day I might be like, yo, I know this was a good thing for me, but like today I'm not feeling it, and like that's fine, right?
Yeah.
But like I think that you don't necessarily always have to like ask the question every time, but if something changes, it's good to have like that conversation and be open to it, because I say yes to food and then I change my mind and do something else. I mean, that's a much like lower stakes of a situation, but it's like I might be like, yes, I'm gonna have Chipotle, and then I go to Chipotle and I'm like, no, I'm gonna have Subway, which is like right next door. So I have the option to change my mind at any time. And I think that's like putting it in like a very simple term, but it is something that's really important to consider.
I once stopped an audition because somebody kissed me and never asked me about it.
I think you told me this story.
I was so upset. I stopped the audition and I was like, don't you ever do that. I looked at that. It was a guy. I didn't care that it was a dude. Like, whatever. But like, you don't go just like kissing unknown people on the mouth like in an audition. I yelled at him. I yelled at the auditors, and everyone just like kept silent. I was like, this is bullshit. Like, you don't do this. This isn't professional. You could have talked to me about
Yeah.
it beforehand if you wanted to do this.
Yeah, there's a reason that casting directors don't want you like looking at them most of the time, or like going up and stroking their arm in a scene,
Right.
even though
Oh
it says
God,
to
how
do
weird.
that. I mean, I'm just saying, like, if like I mean, not just like in general, but like if the scene
No,
calls for
yeah,
something,
right.
it's
I'm
like
touched by a bunch of people all day.
and generally it's like if that's in a scene, you can go up, and when you go into the audition, you can be like, I know it says on page 5 to like hold someone's hand. Would you prefer that I just don't worry about that action, or is there someone specific that I'm and most of the time they're just gonna be like, don't worry about the action, just do the lines or whatever.
Especially at the
But also
level
people
that
just don't
like,
want to get touched 40 times a day or 100 times a
right.
day.
I mean, if this was like, if it was you, this is like your 8th callback, you are seeing the producer, like blah blah blah, like this is it, like you make this one or you don't. And then in that moment I think like, okay, like if it says kiss in the script, you still have to ask, obviously. But like I think at that point it's more like okay to be doing those types of things in auditions. But when you're like just starting out and you're just like dealing with, I don't want to call actors muck, the mucky muck of everybody, right? You don't want to be going to all those auditions with all these people, unknowns, no one's like really vetted. It's like, ooh.
Yeah. But also, like, I don't know where everyone else's hands or mouths have been. Like, I just don't
Exactly,
really want
dude.
to.
You don't know what I got. I got stuff. I've lived a life.
But even then, it's like and then I'll ask you another question because we've gone so off topic.
I know.
But with the casting thing, it's like it's not necessarily that I'm worried about the casting director. I'm worried about the other 30 people that strolled up in before I did. Like that's like who knows where they have been.
Right.
And it's like even like now with like COVID, it's like people are on set and it's like, oh well, people that don't want to wear a mask. It's like I'm not worried about you. I'm just worried about the 40 other people you're going to encounter today. So it's like that's why I ask you to wear a mask. Or like that's why I'm wearing a mask because
they say it's okay not to wear a mask on set.
No. I'm saying like people
Oh.
who just don't want to wear a mask because they just feel like it's all a sham or whatever. But it's like, yeah, I mean, but it's like you're one person, sure, but every person you're interacting with that you're
Right.
not wearing a mask in
That's
front
what it's
of,
about.
that's it's like, yeah, maybe if I'm wearing a mask and 6 feet away from you, it's not going to do anything. But if you go around to 40 other people without that mask, this is how we spread it.
It's the butterfly effect.
Yeah, it's literally how.
Watch at me look at it go. I'm moving my head, not just my eyes.
Well, okay, a little dramatic, but all right. Anyway, let me dive into the last question that I have, which is the reason why I'm doing the Improv Summit.
Yeah, I love this, by the way.
Yeah, thanks.
Such a good
Thanks
idea.
for coming. Yeah. So the last question I have, which is the reason the Improv Summit, I'll do that again, because I'm going to edit it. Blah, 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 blah. I'm doing this so I can make sure I go back and edit it. So the reason, the last question I have is okay. I'm gonna do it one more time. Hold on.
Here, let me help you. Spencer, I heard you have one last question for me. What do you need to ask me?
I do. I'm glad you asked. The final question I have is the reason why I've been doing the Improv Summit, because pre-pandemic, but even now, even still, I have people come up to me all the time and they're like, Spencer, you do a lot of improv. Where should I take improv? And a simple question is actually pretty overwhelming to answer because I don't know what people's goals are for improv, or like what kind of style they like, or what kind of humor they like, or comedy. But if someone came up to you and said, Jason, where should I take improv? What's like one piece of advice or one tip that you'd give someone to help them start their improv journey?
Okay, just one tip. Just
Yeah, I mean, there's a
free
lot.
class,
But
dude. Free class, easy. I would start with free classes, but then you just got to be careful because here's the thing. I've been in the theater long enough that I like can filter out like good classes, bad classes, good people, not good people to go for. So I mean, it's definitely best to go to a reputable place that you pay them a bunch of money to take like a 6-week class because you know it's going to be like in a safe environment, which is awesome. But I kind of think that those businesses, although they're awesome, are not a really great end all be all. Try to find free. You can find them free anywhere pretty much. way I found the free classes here in North Hollywood, which probably eventually led me to you, was through Facebook. But Google, Facebook, go to any theaters around you, look up any theater, go knock on their doors, email them, ask them if they know an improv company. Last time I went to Chicago, all I did was I just emailed a couple of improv theaters around town. I said, hey, do you have any open jams going on? They all got back to me. That was the best. That was the best. So do it free. Get your toes in. Don't be discouraged if the people there suck the first couple times, because theater people can be weird.
And also, don't get overwhelmed if everyone is better than you.
Oh yeah, don't
they
get
may have
overwhelmed.
been doing it for a long time.
Yeah, just go up. Yeah, you just gotta go up and do it. I like working with new people. I do. Who don't? I like working with new people who know that they're new and they're a little like cautious / anxious to get in. Working with new people who are like, I got this, is kind of tough sometimes. But so yeah, go in and just whatever they ask you to do, just do it, even if it's wrong. But so free classes, just try to find them free. That's the best place to go.
I love it.
Or go see an improv show, and then afterwards go talk to the people.
Yeah,
and go stick around.
Yeah, go see, take different free classes, go see different improv shows at different places to see what you find funny, what you feel like a good vibe with.
Different styles. There are so many styles that so many people, even like this group does long form, we do long form. Okay, yeah, but they do long form with wigs. We don't do long form with wigs. Everyone does like a different thing, and just as people are different, you mesh differently with people, you mesh with different vibes. So go see as many different types of it.
Yeah, and coming in June of 2021, wig form. It's the new long form with wigs. Cannot wait. Yeah. Anyway, well, thanks so much for joining me, Jason. I lied. I said that was the last question, but I actually have one more question for you.
Size 36.
Great. Okay, we're done. Thank you so much for joining us.
That's improv.
Improv, and I yesed the choice.
You did.
And I was adding more information, but yeah. So that's how improv works. Great. We just did it. All right. No more need to do anything. No. The last question I have for you is: would you like to do an improv scene?
I would.
The word is vanilla. Vanilla.
Vanilla.
Thank you, vanilla.
We did a nice one.
Milla vanilla. Just kidding.
We did a nice drink not too long ago.
Did we? Oh yeah. I don't. Oh well. Whatever. All right.
That was a good sketch.
Well, if I'm initiating it, does it have to be ice cream?
I know.
All right. So the word is vanilla. Vanilla.
Thank you, vanilla.
Thank you, vanilla. Steve, I don't think this tastes right. This new flavor, it's got a couple of bugs, I think.
Oh, all right. Wait, hold on.
Well, not like literal bugs, just like some kinks that need to be worked out.
Oh God. Oh, okay. Here, try that one. Okay.
All right. So a much bigger pint. Before I was just getting a little tiny sample size. Now you're giving me the whole pint. All right. Let me.
Hey, you can take the whole pint. I'm telling you, man, this flavored motor oil business is going to take off.
See, it's just a little too bitter. I think it needs to be a little sweeter.
All right. Strawberry?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm doing little tricks. I can do cool tricks with the pints.
You look like Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
Tom Cruise of flavored motor oil.
This is risky business. Risky business, baby.
That is it, Mortimer. That's going to be the advertising. You're going to be the Tom Cruise of the flavored motor oil business. This is the Top Gun of motor oil. Ice cream, am I right?
Oh my God! Hold on. Let me get my phone. We gotta record these.
This mission is impossible.
Oh, okay. Do the bar flailing thing again.
Neo, the Matrix, is not Tom Cruise, but it's close enough.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Now I need you just to do the quick name and say, I support this. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Now I'm going to record. Now the name of the brand is Potty in My Mouth flavored motor oil. Go.
That's a really long name. Should we shorten it?
Yeah, you could just say potty in my mouth.
Okay. All right. I feel like motor oil and potty, it just doesn't really kind of match. Like maybe we should, like party in my mouth, but that's already been taken. Maybe like rev your engines, rev your fuel your body with the new motor oil
But
flavored ice cream.
You can't put the motor oil in your body. You can only taste it. So I don't want people to think they can do that. Great idea. But
Wait,
you could just keep it to potty in my mouth.
What? I've been swallowing it this whole time.
You've been swallowing, Mortimer.
Yeah,
No!
I thought it was pretty tasty. That one was really sweet. I like.
Hold on. Oh, here, drink this anti-oil.
Okay. Here, let me just do the same thing.
Oh.
My tricks. Ooh, that's icy fresh.
It is. It's the glacier.
It tastes just like that thing in a car. The thing. The freeze zone, frozone, freezy, antifreeze.
Mortimer, you've been the mechanic to my gas station for the last 20 years. How are you gonna sit there and not tell me you don't know what antifreeze is?
Listen, I don't know all the names and all the verbs and all the words, but I know where they are. I know where the parts go. The antifreeze, it goes in the car.
Okay. So if I could just get you to say potty in my mouth.
Okay. Again, should I potty in my mouth just feels kind of like different than what we're trying to sell here. Fine. We'll do it your way. We'll do it. We'll just.
No, I get it. This is because your uncle left me the gas station.
Yeah, you're not even related to him.
I know, which was weird why he left it to me in the will, and that's why you hate me, isn't it?
I do. I hate you.
You don't want to see me succeed any further?
I want to see you fail.
If I fail, you fail, Mortimer. You work for me.
But why? I don't know why I do. If I hate you so much, I don't know why I work here.
Yeah, I can understand that. I gotta let you go, buddy. I gotta let you go.
All right. Well, you can have your
potty in my mouth. Can I have that back?
Yeah, your PIMM. You can have it back.
By the way, that's copywritten, so you can't go start your own flavored old motor oil.
Don't worry, I'm not gonna do potty in my mouth anytime soon.
Good. Appreciate if you just got all your tools out of the garage by this afternoon.
All right. Well, you won't have a mechanic who knows where all the parts of a car are.
Yeah. Where's the brake?
It's in the front of the car.
Damn it.
On the bottom, when you're like next to the driving car. Give me a harder one.
All right. If a 1972 Dodge is going clunk, 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 while you're driving at 62 miles an hour uphill at 36 degrees Celsius, what's wrong?
It's a flat tire.
Damn.
I know my math.
How many tires on a 1992 Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme?
4.
Well, I guess I need you, I guess.
I think you do. Oh, I just thought of something. You need me so badly.
What is it, Mortimer?
I want 82% of the profit of this motor oil flavored ice cream. Tasty stuff.
I just heard you say 82%.
Yep, that's correct. 82%. Not 80, not 81, not 83. 82% of every pint sold. Or I walk.
Deal.
Oh, that was easy. All right, well, let's get to work then, since I own 82% of the company.
All right. Just say potty in my mouth.
See, again, I don't think that that's going to work. Scene. Thanks, everybody, for coming to the Improv Summit. I'm Spencer. That's Jason. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.